Alright guys, let's move to our next topic, which is call by value and call by reference. The question is, what is call by value and call by reference? When you define the calling of method by passing value as a parameter to the method, then that type of method calling is known as call by value. And at the same time, instead of passing the value, if you pass reference of another object as an argument for method calling, then that is known as call by reference. We can better understand this by its implementation, which is there in oops 7 folder. I just took that code from there to here in this IDE to better understand this, and now we will try to understand the difference between call by value and call by reference and how these two works. Okay. In this scenario, I have employee class which is holding e-name, age, and salary properties, and I am setting up these three properties by one method called set employee data, which is going to take three values and then passing these values to class level data members from these local variables to class level variables. And there is two string just to print the data. We are going to learn this two string concept in upcoming classes. As of now, if you want, you can ignore it. That's fine. You can create another display method here to print the values of this employee class object. That's totally fine. I'm just overriding to string method just to print the values which are there inside employee class object. Okay. Now what I'm doing is in main method, I'm instantiating employee class first and then I'm setting up the values to that employee class object and then I'm printing the data. So this method calling, this set employee data calling is just a simple calling where I'm passing the values. These values are known as actual argument, where method definition is there is known as formal argument. Okay, and there is a equal to relationship between actual argument and formal argument, which means this Tom is going to this formal argument e name, this 25 is going to age, and this 2555 is going to salary. Okay, and from there it is assigning to the class level variables, and then I'm simply printing the employee one object data. Let me run this and you can see I'm getting the output here. So this type of method calling where you are just simply passing the values is known as call by value. Okay, now you can also do the same thing by using call by reference. Okay, let's try to understand how we can do the same thing by using call by reference. What I'm doing, I'm again creating one more method here with the name of set employee data, which is basically nothing but method overloading. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating another object of employee class. Okay, let's suppose for next employee object, employee 2 object, I want to have the same values which are there with employee 1. Then either I can go with the simply the approach of passing the values of employee 1 object and then I assign them like I was doing with set employee data, the first method, right? Instead of that, I can pass the object for which I want to have the same values to my another object. Okay, so I am passing employee one object here. And let's suppose this employee one object reference or address is 1000. Then because it is of employee class type, I need to define a formal argument of same class type of employee class type. So if I am passing here 1000 reference of the first employee object, that 1000 reference is now holding into employee of employee as well, which is the local variable of set employee data. Now, whenever I'll say 1000.ename means I'm saying employee1.ename means I'm indirectly accessing the values of employee1 object and then I can assign those values to my current class object, which is nothing but the object on which I am calling this set employee data. So this set employee data I'm calling on employee2 object. Okay, that means the values for employee 1 are just copying to the employee 2 object, and then again if I print the employee 2 object, it is going to print the same values. You can see here I'm getting the same values. So the same thing which I was achieving by passing the values, I can also achieve by passing the reference of that object for which I want to copy the value to another object. Okay, and in that way also I can do the same thing. Okay, now what is the advantage of it? For example, there are 15 variables at class level and I want to copy all the values of one object into another object, then you have to repeatedly pass those values again and again, right? So instead of doing this, I can directly pass that object reference instead of passing the same values, and then I can use that reference to get the values and then copy them to my another object for which I want to copy the values, right? So this is the advantage of call by reference concept. By using call by reference, you will get the reference of the object and then you can retrieve all the values from that object and then you can do whatever you want to do with that object values. You can either copy them to another object or you can use somewhere wherever you want to use. Okay, so this is the biggest advantage of using call by reference concept. Technically speaking, the difference is very minor. uh, Call by value is nothing but the method calling where you are just simply passing the values of any entity, and call by reference is something where you actually pass the object reference and then you hold them there and then you will start accessing the values of that object. Okay.